This model is of an unidentified Swedish East Indiaman from the mid-18th century. The model was built in the 20th century by Woldemar Konga, an Estonian refugee who escaped to Sweden during the Second World War. Its construction was based on original drawings by the famous naval architect Frederick Henrik af Chapman. This was a period when the science of shipbuilding reached new heights, and Chapman, uniquely a mathematician and a shipwright, led the way. He is considered to be the grandfather of naval architecture. He was 10 when he designed his first vessel. By 23, he ran his own shipyard, maintaining and repairing Swedish East Indiaman. The Swedish East India Company had been founded in Gothenburg in 1731 to import silk, tea, furniture, and other distinctive and luxury goods from the East. The Swedish East India Company swiftly became the largest trading company in Sweden. East Indiamen such as this hold an important position in the history of ship design and innovation. Here is a vessel that linked the two most physically distant and culturally distinct parts of the world together. The design of East Indiamen posed several problems, and East India companies were a crucible for maritime innovation. The vessels had to be able to travel immense distances. They needed space for the crew, their supplies, and also spare parts. But, most importantly, they needed space for the goods they were going to trade. They also needed space for guns so they could protect themselves. Not only was piracy a major problem, but so too was competition from Sweden's European neighbours. British, French, or Dutch trading companies didn't hesitate to attack other ships to prevent competition. The challenge, therefore, was to carry a high-value cargo successfully through dangerous waters. East Indiamen were the largest merchant ships built in the 18th and 19th centuries, measuring up to 1,400 tons burden. Around 50 meters long and armed with 25 to 30 cannon, they appeared like a warship, but their design was significantly different. The cross-section of the hull was deeper and squarer than naval ships to make extra space. The hull was narrower than a warship and the scantlings lighter. This helped with speed as well as space. The forecastle and quarterdeck were continuous to create a complete deck that could be used to store cargo. Although the armament of each East Indiaman was heavy, the cannons were shorter in length than naval cannon, and so of shorter range and less accurate. Her hull would have had copper sheathing to protect it from shipworm. In some areas, the design of East Indiamen was even ahead of their naval counterparts. When quality shipbuilding timber was at a premium and naval ships were prioritized, builders of East Indiamen saved on timber by replacing key parts of the hull with iron. This became a blessing in disguise, as the iron joints strengthened the ships and their use became standard practice in shipbuilding. In some respects, the design was very similar to a warship, particularly at the stern. Here, the carved gallery was similar to the style of two-decked warships. There were numerous instances when East Indiamen were mistakenly identified as warships, which often played to their advantage. Life on board East Indiamen was hard and dangerous. The crew would have been around 150, far fewer than a naval ship of a similar size, but far more than a merchant ship. The crews were often malnourished and not used to the heat and humidity in the ports they visited. The doctors on board were helpless when it came to dealing with tropical illnesses. It's estimated that at least 10% of the crew died for every journey taken to the east. The science of shipbuilding may well have reached new heights in this period, therefore, but the medical knowledge needed to keep the sailors fit and healthy had some way to go.